Hello, how you doing? This is the NAACP Roundtable, where we talk about all the pressing issues. To my right, we have the illustrious Omar L, the Imam, the Wilmington Masjid. How you feeling today, sir?
Alhamdulillah, brother, I'm doing great, praise be to God. And all my grandchildren, Assalamu alaikum, love you, all of you, can't go all your names, ain't gonna get messed up with that no more. And I want to give a shout out to Miss Marie Skinner. Happy holiday to you. Ain't got a chance to holler at you, but you know I love you. And what else I want to say? I want to say I just came from Miss Trotter's funeral.
That's right, get it out there.
And I had a spiritual time. I sang and I talked.
Yeah, they don't know that about you, huh?
They don't, and they didn't know that. They said, "Well, you know you could sing." Well, that's because I stopped singing for a while. But now, in our efforts to try to bring the African American, Muslim, and African American Christian community, we have to show our commonalities instead of the differences that we've had over the years. And we got a lot of commonalities. The devil just has kept us from communicating on those commonalities.
So let's talk. Let's start right there. A lot of times, the issues that we have, we always want to speak about what's different, or what I do that you don't do, and what gets lost is the bigger message and the bigger issues that we're trying to tackle.
Yeah.
You know, so when people look at Christianity, they look at, and I hate to say it, some people look at it as a passive type religion when it actually never was.
That's right.
It never was.
Right.
Jesus was not passive. He came to those people, the people that we talk about today. That's what he was here for.
He's a radical.
Yeah,
he was a revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
He's a politician.
Spoke out against social justice.
Spoke all against the anti-social justice thing. And you know, my brother, Pastor James Cofield, said one time, he says, you know, I studied it from the European perspective,
right?
But I haven't studied it from the black perspective. And like I was talking to you on coming the way in here, how in Carter G. Woodson's book, The Miseducation of the Negro, but there was a book before that called The Miseducation of the Negro, and he explains how Christianity came into our possession.
Right.
One element was to keep us subversive, to keep us subservient to them. You know what I mean? Because you said the white preacher standing next to the black preacher and make sure he didn't say nothing out of the way. You know what I mean? And our people, instead of just putting all their faith in the preacher, need to learn the scripture.
Right.
You know, it's like in my mosque at Friday on Jumu'ah. What I'm saying to them should be just to be a reminder to them. They should already know this. But because we always been looking up to the preacher as a leader, and they are, but we should also study the book for ourselves, yes, so that we, like my sheikh used to say, he said, if you believe in what I'm saying about the scripture, don't use my name, you take ownership of it.
Right.
That's so that it comes from you. That's one of the things they was talking about, Ms. Trotter, her compassion. I mean, right or wrong. Sometimes we argue back and forth when I was younger. But I would never let any of the people disrespect her.
Right.
Because she was my elder. You know what I mean? Whether I agree with her or not, I wasn't going to disrespect her. I never did.
And speaking on that, when you look at today's community, I think that's lost.
Oh, yeah.
We've really lost this respect for elders. And, you know, we had some elders, they did their thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was obvious they was doing their thing.
Yeah.
But we respected them.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times what they said to us was for our own good, even though we didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, all that came out at the funeral. We got
I wasn't even there.
We wasn't even there, but because that's the real talk of the day now.
Yeah.
We got to talk plain. We got to talk real. We got to have compassion about it. I mean, 20 murders. Yeah, I can that's Philadelphia, 400.
Right.
Baltimore, 300. You know, Camden at one time, 20 murders. If the faith community, you know, I've always said this,
right,
if the faith community would unite on our love for God, our love for truth and righteousness, you know, regardless of our faith or different how we practice our faith, all the faiths, especially the three major religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all of us say that Abraham is the father of our respective way of practicing religion. So we're cousins, uncles, somebody, one of them family members. But the devil, and all of them ain't white, has us at each other about our differences. When in our book, and that you know, it says God made us a nation and tribe for us to know one another and compete with one another in all that is good and forbid that is wrong. And our leadership, you know, in all the religions and politicians, we not on that point. That came out today too at the funeral. It came out that, you know, people come and give us advice for their own benefits, but they don't give us advice for the benefit of the totality of the community. And that's what Ms. Trotter and others, Miss Helen Chambers, Lily, the White's mother, Lillian Richardson. At that time, we had a community. Right? Even the drunks, I was one of them. You know, on the corner, we wouldn't let the kids hooky school. Yeah, ain't you supposed to be in school? Everybody's scared to say something to these kids.
Right, and that's something how, you know, I talk to a lot of people at the center I work at, how there's always been people doing wrong.
Right.
You know, we need to get out of this thought processes. This is something new.
Right.
22nd and, you know, Carter and Lamont and all those streets, they've always sold drugs. They've always sold drugs on the Hill. They've always sold drugs on
West End City.
Yeah. All these things went on, but there were certain rules.
It was containment of it.
It was rules, you know, because if a person was out there doing whatever it is they was doing and they seen a young person with promise, oh, you can't be here.
That's
Yo,
right.
Young boy, you got to go.
That's right.
Young boy, you need your education.
That's right.
Young boy, you need something.
And
but what you're going to do, you're not going to be here.
And would give up some of that dope money to help them. I know I used to make them give up money every year for Helen Chambers Day. Yeah. They paid for the food. They paid for the school books if the kids didn't have no sneaks, whatever. Now, these little brothers, but I go back to what I've been saying on this show and others all the time. The Desegregation Act of 1978, 79, wherever it was, took all that kind of history away from us, putting our children in 4 separate school districts that are a failure to this day. So these kids out here shooting themselves are the product of their parents who went through that experience. They don't even know who they are.
And you know, it's funny that you always mention deseg. I had the first year of desegregation was my last year of high school.
Okay.
And the one thing that I experienced, and I talk about it often because it actually helped me out later on in life, was the night before I was supposed to go, I graduated from Glasgow. I'm a PS dynamiter. I'm gonna tell everybody that's what I live by, you know, but that year, it was a cross burning in back of the school. I seen Klan men, like not no books, nothing, walking with signs saying, send the niggers home, we don't want to be with you. I had teachers that thought I was ignorant. I didn't know anything. I had to deal with racism for real.
That's right.
In my face. And it taught me so much about life because growing up in the city, I grew up on North Side, I went to PS. Our teachers taught us the value of the community. Our teachers taught us the value of a lot of things. I didn't have to deal with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was sheltered from it, actually. You know, we read about it in books, but I didn't have to deal with it in my face. It was a culture shock to me.
Oh, yeah.
It woke me up.
Yeah. When I went in the Army, one of my parents used to say, you can't whip the white man. And I said, I went to H. Fletcher Brown Technical High School. I whipped a whole bunch of them up when they went wrong, you know. But the culture is one of the elements that is missing in our community. The culture that our children get today is because their parents set them in front of that television, and even the doggone Disney Channel got some crazy stuff on there that that I don't appreciate. But I'm going to want to go back to the articles that ran in West Center City all last week. I think it was last week. About West Center City being a crime area and the daycare center. The daycare center actually belonged to the community anyway.
Right.
But they would never fund the people from the community. So the daycare center got a board, and their whole operation was ran by people that wasn't even from West Center City. Same with the Hicks Anderson Center today. The center was developed by Mrs. Trotter, Architect Hamilton, Mr. Goldsby, Hicks Anderson, and others, because we needed a center.
Right.
But they would never fund the people from the community to run the center. That's how the city got control of it. Okay. So the Hicks Anderson Center, even to this day, has never been a community center for the West Center City residents. When my sister-in-law Olivia Dickerson was alive, may Allah have mercy on her, she was the only worker in there that was actually for our community, her and Miss Trotter.
Right.
And Olivia was a part-time employee for 30 years. So last time we talked about that.
Right.
This stuff is not an accident.
Right.
Because they're trying to come back into West Center City now.
Right.
And when I was at the Board of chairman of the board, commissioner of the board of the Housing Authority, and me and old man Gilliam had an argument about giving up some property that I thought that we shouldn't give up for the price that he was talking about. And he said, nobody wants to buy no property in West Center City. I said, I failed it different with that. This is like in the late 90s.
Right.
I said, if they building up that waterfront,
They're going to need it.
yeah, close to 95, all that property. You know, those houses between 9th and 10th on Jackson Street. I remember when I was little, wishing that when I grew up, could I get one of those houses that was empty?
Over there, you're right.
Yeah, those houses are back with the European community members back in then, a few African Americans. But what I'm saying is that riverfront development want to come all the way from the riverfront all the way up to Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right. That's the plan.
You know, so you know we and what came out at the funeral again, that our communities, our neighborhoods was more in tune to being a community. With now, we got a new breed of children that, again, don't know who they are, don't know nothing about community except for a loyalty to those who give them money, and that's the drug dealers, et cetera. And so my thing's always been the faith community has to open them doors up more than Sunday, and come out in that community and talk to these kids. And I got a chance to speak at the funeral, all emotional, and I said I was wanting to walk from my house down to Adam 4, and I had my weapon, and I was going to put my weapon in my pants to walk down there. And I said, you know what? My dad was scared like that, and I used to tell him, everybody know me. Ain't nobody going to do nothing to you.
Right.
And so everybody still knows me. I never did that again. I walked down there not 2 or 3, but 1 o'clock in the morning, and the kids, assalamu alaikum. What you doing out here? No, what you doing out here?
Right.
See, that kind of thing. But now they shooting each other in the daytime. So you can see that it's really out of hand. That television stuff got to them. And I'm telling the churches in my interfaith groups that we need to get out there more than what we're getting out. And I was going to bring a picture on and show y'all when I was in Black Man's Volunteer Army Liberation Black Man Development Center. I found this picture 40 years ago when I was 27 years old, and these are black uniform, the berets, and we reduced crime at 7th and Tatnall. 2 teenagers, a drunk, and myself, with a can of mace, handcuffs, and a blackjack. You know, we used to have the walkie-talkies from the police, and if it was domestic, we'd get there first and tell them, give us a chance, give us 15 minutes, and we would quell things. Now that we're afraid of the children to do that.
And it's funny that, I mean, you did that back then. Now they have all these new groups that this is their new job. This is their new task.
Yeah.
But we're still seeing the crime go up. I'm not speaking against anybody because I know the difficulties, you know, when you got to deal with legalities and other things of how do you handle stuff. But if it was something that in place that worked, why can't it work today?
Good point. Like we talking before we came on here. I think a lot of people are mad at Dennis, Mayor Williams, because he didn't take the $1.5 million grant for the $1.5 million grant that the state wanted him to take.
Right.
But he sent out a memo a few weeks ago that said the reason why he didn't accept it because at the fine line it says if this 1.5 doesn't work to reduce crime, that the state can come in and take over the Wilmington Police Department.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to take a quick break, come back with some guests, and realize that the phone number will be up for you guys to call in. Right back. Hello, we're back, and to my left, the very lovely Lisa Blunt Rochester. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. I cannot complain. It was a wonderful holiday with my children. I have 2 grown children, which is very nice. They're grown.
And they can leave.
They're married. One is married, and so I really had a wonderful, wonderful holiday, and I'm just honored to be here tonight and wish everybody at home a happy holidays as well.
Yes.
You know, is this the first day of Kwanzaa? Let's see, what day are we?
26th.
Second
Second day.
Okay.
Second day.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yes, and we have the president, Mr. Richard Mouse Smith. How you doing?
All right, I just got off work.
Making that.
I had to go make that money. I made it too.
So we was talking before you all got in. We was talking about West Center City. I was West Center City. We was talking about the MAT money coming to the city that Dennis refused because in the red line it said if this money don't work, that the state can come in and take over the Wilmington Police Department, and we certainly don't want that. I don't want that anyway. And then one of the other things I wanted to talk about was a meeting I missed at Tabernacle Church when about the court system, what did the community think about the court system, and the chief
Shrine.
said that we need to tone down how we criticize those who are oppressing us, because we're running some people away that would help us if we wasn't using that kind of language. My first comments was, what the? Is he going to, this is like the old slave master. He's going to tell us, don't talk like that because we ain't going to help you if you keep talking like that. But they keep getting their foot on our neck.
But let's do this first. Let's have Ms. Blunt
So how you?
explain.
Yep.
Yes, there's some questions and stuff.
I got some questions for you.
You have questions for me, all right?
Yes, we do. Okay.
Let
You
her
want to
explain
start off?
herself first.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Tell us what you're trying to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, some people might know me from the past. My name was Lisa Blunt Bradley. Somebody actually called me that walking down the hall. And but you got it right. It's Lisa Blunt Rochester. And I've been blessed to serve this state in different roles as Delaware Secretary of Labor at one point, and State Personnel Director, Urban League President. And even just starting out as a caseworker in an office where I was helping people with Social Security, disability, and taxes and housing. And I've been blessed to serve in those kind of roles, but never ever run for office before. And so for me, many of you may have heard, but I have put my hat in the ring, and for the first time announcing that I'm a candidate for United States Congress to take over the seat that John Carney will be vacating as he runs for governor. And it's a big, big step for me, a step of faith, to step out here and say, you know, it's one thing to serve, but it's another thing to be the voice. And that's why this show is so important, you know, even being on here and hearing from the people. You know, you mentioned West Center City, and it reminded me that the way that my family actually got to Delaware in 1969 was because of People's Settlement.
Okay.
My dad actually worked at People's Settlement under Jim Sills, and it was a time when there was a lot of change and turmoil and things happening. And it was important for us as a people and as a community to come together and to be strong. And I feel like we're in a similar situation where, you know, a lot, and that's one of the things that propelled me to actually take this step out here, is that, you know, you look at what's happening across our country, you look at the extremes that are happening, how people are acting extreme in our religion and using religion as a way to hurt each other. People, the climate is extreme. The fact that it is like flowers are out there budding, and I saw bees today. Something's happening. It's an extreme. The situation between our law enforcement and our communities. And so to me, I don't think the average person is like that. I think the average person does want a better life for their kids. They don't want to go back to the past. I heard some people in the mall saying, we need to go back to our parents' days. No, we need to move forward. What's the vision for moving forward? And so for me, stepping out here and saying, you know, I've been able to serve in appointed positions, but I want to take this opportunity to serve at a different level and to serve us in Washington, D.C. Delaware has never elected African American or person of color or even a woman.
right.
We're one of 3 states that has never elected a woman to Congress. Us, Vermont, and Mississippi. And so I think it's time for a new voice and new leadership. And so I'm putting my hat in the ring. And on January 23rd, I will make the official kickoff of the campaign. So I just wanted to just come here and say, no matter what people, the fact that people need to get engaged. And for me, it's sometimes it's kind of a scary thing to step out here like this. I have a newfound appreciation for my father, Ted Blunt, who has run for office. I know now what it feels like to put yourself out there. And so I just really need people's support, their prayers, their money, if they have any. Every $5 counts. And that is true for anybody who's putting themselves out here. I now have a new appreciation for that level of service. So I'm glad to be here. Over the course of the next year, we have about 260 some days until the primary. And so for me, my style of working, whether I was at labor or anywhere, has been to listen, you know, not to make rash judgments, not to, you know, but to really try to, in a collaborative way, come together and come out with something that really does represent us. So that's one of the reasons why I'm glad to be on the show, to hear as well as.
How have you been received?
So, you know what? It has been so humbling, because some people know that I had left the state for a while. I got married to an amazing brother from Chestertown, Maryland, and I left the country, and I got a chance to live overseas in China. And so coming home, I wasn't sure if people would even remember me, you know, and I came home out of a tragedy, actually. And, you know, that's also where my faith has been important to me, because, you know, what it might seem like the worst thing in the world can sometimes be for a greater good and a greater glory.
That's right.
And so coming home, I came home because my husband unexpectedly passed away. He, freak accident at the age of 52, you know, blood clots traveled up to his chest, and he passed away. And it was coming home. It was, fortunately, we never gave up our house here. So I had a place to come. I had family, I had friends. And through a whole year of transformation, it led me to make this decision to step out on faith and do this. And the reception has been awesome. I went with Storm and Norman Oliver on the turkey run. And, you know, from Milton and Milford and Georgetown and all the different areas up and down the state, there were so many people that I had worked with, when I worked at Health and Social Services. I saw people from the nonprofit community, a lot of people in the nonprofit community. You know, you can understand the struggle, because it's not easy to try to raise that money and to try to provide the services. And so I was running into people who had worked with me in nonprofits. I was running into young people. That right there is exciting to me. You know, there's a different feel out there with these young folks. You know, and so it's been very humbling. But the reception has been really, really good. Women, you know, and especially women have, as a matter of fact, we had our first interns start this past week, and one is from University of Delaware, and the other is from Dell State, and Dell State one is Miss Delaware State University, so Tria, and so just the excitement of young women, but also older women who have been in the trenches and have been trying to you know, have an opportunity like this, just the support. And even widows who, you know, to say, you know, you inspired me to get out and try to do something. So it's been humbling, but exciting.
And if somebody wanted to stop by, where are you located?
So That's why the kickoff is important. Right now, we are located in my basement because that's what I can afford. But we in January will be. We're in the process now of signing the contract for 555 Justin Landing right there at the riverfront. So people can have parking and they can be easily accessible. And that's where we will be holding our kickoff as well on January 23rd. And the website is lisablunt.rochester.com. So it's easy if people want to just kind of keep up with what's going on. That's the, and it's Blunt with no O. Anybody who knows.
Party affiliation.
There
You
go.
know, when you were Secretary of Labor,
Yes.
you had a amazing relationship with labor,
Oh, yes.
organized labor.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I really met you at being president at the time.
Yeah.
And myself, Sam, but you also, while you was over the Secretary of Labor, you sued. Did you sue the state or you sued for?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
So, first of all, as you mentioned, Sam Latham, there are just a lot of. I come from a background where my grandmother was one of the first ball-bearing plant, like iron worker union leaders. I mean, to have a woman in like the 50s and 60s be a leader, you know, a union leader, that was pretty powerful. And so our family comes from that. So it was easy to have good relationship with good people that also care about families and families succeeding. So both at labor and when I was at state personnel, we didn't always agree on everything. But again, it was always like, I respect you. We respect each other. Let's see how we can make this work. I mean, I remember at personnel, I had to figure out how are we going to save money on health benefits. And typically what could happen is the people go in the budget office and they make the decisions and they give you the news. And we pulled together all the unions and said, listen, this is going to be hard. I need your help to make these kind of cuts. And we just gave them a list of everything and said, help us figure out what will hurt the least. What do we need to do to make people prepared for this? And we did it together, and we had our message together. Also at state personnel, that's when Governor Minner, because I went from Governor Carper to Governor Minner, we had a situation in our state where the state police were being accused of racial and sexual discrimination. As a matter of fact, if I recall, I remember Senator Margaret Rose Henry, who's a great, she's my political mom, I call her. And I remember they had started to have hearings. They were considering hearings and everything in the General Assembly because I don't know if somebody had brought a noose. It was just a really tense time. And it was in 2001, and the governor signed an executive order asking myself and my department to actually do that investigation. And at the time, that was kind of historic because you don't get involved in the state police business. They do their thing. And what we tried to do was say, let's look at not just one little part of this. Let's look at the hiring, the recruitment, the training, the promotions, all of that. And you know, I said we can't, it was a lot of pressure because for me personally, I cared what the NAACP, with the Urban League, La Raza, I cared what these groups thought and wanted to do a good job. At the same time, I wanted this to be used, and it would do me no good if I got them all happy and these people over here said, oh, thanks for that report, and threw it in the trash when I walked away. And so what we did was we got folks from the Clinton administration's EEO, affirmative action, who could do all the statistical stuff and who could really look and say, what's going on here? And then I got people that the police respected from John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. And I said to them, help us to figure out a roadmap for the future. And we came out with 62 recommendations. We included people from the community in it. We included the police themselves. They had a toll-free hotline because they actually had things they wanted to say but could never say out loud. You know, so we tried to create an environment where we could talk about a roadmap for the future. And that's why the listening is important to me. You know, I interviewed every colonel going back to 1967, except for the one who had passed away. And so then to come home and have, you know, the first black colonel of the state police, you know, that doesn't mean they're done the work, right, but it's some progress. And that was a good thing. And I think, you know, as we look to what's going to happen here as the NAACP looks at state government, I think it's really important that you've got two different things. You have the systemic issues, and then you have these people. There are actual individuals who have been through a lot.
Hurt, really
yeah,
hurt.
yeah. And so you're going to have to not just look at the system, but also many individuals, because even though I don't know all the details, I know that it's complicated.
Well, your name came up in a lot of meetings we had.
Really?
And your name came up as a roadmap and blueprint to work off.
Really?
And that's one thing that we learned.
Yeah.
And Governor Markell played a major role when he said, go on, send a letter out. I want to get investigation. And he's doing some things now. But the most important thing that I really see in you are a golden life memory of the NAACP, not a silver life, golden life. Okay. Okay. And you are a person that believes in people, but you know you came up with some good people. You came up with Earl Monroe. You came up with some other basketball players and stuff. But your mother was beautiful.
Yeah.
She always was beautiful.
Yeah.
And when you went from there to the Urban League, how was your experience with the Urban League?
You know, it's interesting because first I want to just give a shout out to Mr. Gilliam and Tony Allen. And you know, when I made this decision to run for Congress, one of the reasons was because at his funeral, I remember both Reverend Aaron Moore talked about faith without works is dead.
That's right.
And I have a strong faith, and Tony talked about Mr. G saying you got to get off your duff. You can't just sit there and complain.
His favorite word.
Yeah, get off your duff, do something. And then the month before that, at the Coalition of 100 Black Women, one of my good friends and colleagues, Kristen Williams, talked about the state of black women here in Delaware. And she said her grandmother said, you know, when you make soup, sometimes the stuff just settles, and if you don't stir the pot, you mess up the soup.
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Let's get to the state of the black ladies, black women, because I think it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I know it's bad for the black men because because 1 hour was about 3 hours every 10 is going to jail or something like that.
Right.
60%.
But the black lady, when we went across to the prison, and we went in and sit in prison and stuff, we seen so many young black ladies over there.
Yeah.
But the older ladies were trying to work with them and get them ready to go back out without, you know, coming back. But where is the state of the black lady between Georgetown and Clay Mountain?
Let me tell you, we could do a whole nother show on that. There's so much, and everything from our health status here in Delaware. I mean, we could literally do a whole show on the state of women in our state. And I would love it if we could actually do that, if we could come back and maybe even bring the president of the Coalition of 100 Black Women, because, and I mean,
matter of fact, you all can have a show.
That would be great.
Brown asking us to come on 965.
Yeah.
Education show. But I want to say this, that I appreciate you trying to run personally, because I teach in my mouth and wherever I go to speak, I say the problems that men have created in the world, not just in America, in the world, the problems that we have created, the ones who suffer the most are the women, the children, and the elderly. Everything you see on TV, you see poverty. The basic problem is poverty. And then those who are suffering from it is the women and children, et cetera, et cetera. And I heard somebody say, maybe Hillary, maybe we should let her go ahead and win. You know what I mean? Maybe she'd come up with a different psychology, implementation of a plan, something that will work, because the men have gotten too arrogant. especially when the statistics come out that who smoke more weed, middle-class white Americans, males, who drink more liquor, who snort more cocaine, who watch more porn. I said, whoa, white guy telling us this, right? At the coalition to dismantle the new Jim Crow thing they had down the waterfront. And I said, I hope that the Caucasian community, American community who was watching, and most of them who's paying attention are the females.
Yeah, but you know, Omar, we are arrogant too.
I didn't see it.
Black men are very arrogant. For some reason, we got away from that root of family. We got away from that root of self-respect. You know, we playing their game.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
And their game is, yes, it's a lot of drinking, it's a lot of using drugs, it's a lot of refuse to take care of kids, it's a lot of, we doing a lot of things that we didn't do 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. You know, and like you were just saying while I was sitting out there, that when you walk out and it's 11, 12 o'clock at night and one of the young brothers come up and say salam alaikum to you, you said, what you talking about? You doing out here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to catch hold of the whole black community. What we need is a role model.
Right.
In the state of Delaware, we haven't had a role model since the Ray Evans, since your father, since the Reverend Herons, all those guys. We need a role model to pick us up. You know, we can't continue look at folks that don't care about us and don't understand us. Because if they don't care about us, they don't understand us, we ain't never gone no place.
And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying about the women. I've noticed, in my humble opinions and surveys, that these powers to be, we won't name who they are, pay more attention to the female, especially the African American female. We can look at the Django and all them other
You
pictures.
can look at Jack, what he did with judges and stuff.
All of them. And
Females.
when they get more, my wife used to say I was arrogant. I say, look, how can I be arrogant with a foot on the back of my neck? You know what I'm saying? I'm just struggling for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Right.
You know, and so you got a joker with his foot on my back, and I'm supposed to be. I'm not. You know me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be humble when that joker got his foot on my back. I'm gonna tell him straight up, because that's what I was taught from Miss Trotter, Miss Helen, Dwight Davis's mom, Mrs. Richardson, all them old women. You know, was the one that got me off the corner saying, stop smoking that weed and drinking that liquor and go vote when I came off Vietnam a little messed up in the head. I thank God for my faith, and I thank God for those women who made me speak tonight at her funeral. But I wanted to speak, and then when they got to the one part, I said, well, they're leaving me out. I told my wife, they're leaving us out. And then I said, I'm going to pray. And the next thing I know, they say, will Imam Umar please come up here?
Right.
You know, and I said what I'm saying now. Our women, West Center City example of our women, Miss Helen and them coming together, bringing us guys off the corner, smoking and everything else, making us go and vote, making us pay more attention to our children, all those things. When mama say that, when mama do that, like them little brothers say, and I'm going to take Kobe talk. When them little brothers call the girls bees, you let them call when their mother's that. They'll get right in your grill. So we got to, our mothers, to me, is the key. And I always tell my wife the same thing. You're the key to our family staying together, because the older women that I'm affiliated with in my community, they were the ones that had that kind of the power. You know, they're a little scared to come out, but I'm saying we can get them an example. And there's other TV shows, other stations we're trying to do something on. We got to start funding this education out to them.
Yeah. We had her, she turned an affair with us last week or the week before last. The week before last, I think it was. We had 561 people there.
Oh, at the Longshoreman?
Yeah. And Mimi was there. Mimi gave her the best plug I ever seen in my life.
Great.
Okay, the best plug. But the people in there got up and started clapping and stuff, and they ready for it. They ready for a movement from us.
Yeah.
They ready for leadership from us.
Yes.
And what I say to Lisa, how will you touch females of all race colors up and down the state? Because when you get the females out, that's where the vote goes.
That's right.
Right. Well, I think one of the things, I don't know if you guys saw the newspaper article today about
we was talking about that.
the mayor thing. I think that Delaware itself is a place where we like to touch, hand to hand, door to door. You know, it's important to actually be with people. And so, you know, even me having these young women come in and start as interns, because they have aspirations, they want a future for themselves. And so for them to actually see me doing this is empowering them so that they can think, I can do that too. That's important to me, that this is not about me. You know, part of this is creating a pipeline for other people to come and try to do something like this. I didn't even know how to do some of this stuff, and I'm in a political family.
Right.
I mean, so this is all new. I think also raising awareness, that's why I like having a show like this, and us being able to come on and me bringing other women that can
Yes,
speak
yes,
and say,
yes.
I'm doing this over here, and I'm helping women with their health care, and I'm helping women with, you know, entrepreneurship. There's one woman I met recently, I mean, and they're actually coming to me, which is, and I've kept a list now. I have a little whiteboard that just says offers of help, you know, helping to make sure that I know what the issues are that are important to us. And like you said, it's the whole family. It's you know, we're connected. And I think that's one of the big messages for me in my whole life is about connection.
I have a question for you. I'm gonna say when you're elected. You know, we
speak
speaking
those
in-
things.
we
Yeah,
speaking
that's
in-
right.
There you go.
What will be your stamp? So when people look back
Yeah.
50 years, 60 years, what is the one stamp that you want to place that somebody said, wow, it was because of her this happened?
Wow. Well, I'm gonna tell you a couple things that are important to me, and then the last one might be the big stamp. So what's important to me when I look back over the journey of my life and my career, it has been about opportunities. Whether it was getting kids summer youth jobs, whether it was working at Department of Labor and getting jobs for people coming out of prison, because prison to work was important to me, welfare to work was important to me. Everything about people being able to live their purpose. I have this feeling that if we were able to live our purpose, if you're not incarcerated, you're living your purpose, you're contributing to society, it makes things better for you. So one is about people's purpose and them being able to do that. And that means you got to have a good education system, because if the education system is not, you know, good, then the pipeline of people is not good. One is that. The other is the inequality in terms of like the wages. There's two areas there. One is that the haves and have-nots are getting further and further apart. And the other is even for women, the fact that we still, you know, make, it was 74 cents on a dollar, now it's 77, you know, but that inequality is an issue to me. So I would like to see that gap close. College affordability, you know, we're helping kids to graduate, but then we're putting them in debt for the rest of their lives because they can't afford to pay the college bills. I'm still paying a parent loan and my kids are 30, you know, so that to me is an area that's important. Social Security was the area that I started out working with years ago. And I think one of the issues to me is to find solutions that are common ground, not, you know, so.
Young and for old.
That's right. And but back to the stamp, peace is important to me. I got to live in the Middle East. I got to live in China. I got to hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. I got to study Buddhism. I'm a Christian. I feel like the time is right for us to come together.
Absolutely.
And if, you know, I had a list of things I wanted to accomplish in my life. And the last thing that I haven't crossed off was to be a UN peacekeeper. Well, maybe it won't be a UN peacekeeper. Maybe it'll be a congressional peacekeeper. I don't know. But to me, if I were to put a stamp on anything, I would want to contribute to that, you know. And that is connected to people having opportunity. You don't kill somebody when you have something to live for, you know.
Let me ask you a
So.
question. Immigration.
Ooh.
Because you don't have to fight the Republicans once you get there on immigration. That seemed to be their whole key, to put fear in people's hearts and to mess with the poorest of the world and make their example for not to come to this country when we all came here. One way or the other was illegal. Okay.
Good point.
But how will you deal with the Republicans on the Hill when it comes there?
So, on the issue of immigration, I think you hit the nail on the head with the word fear. People exploiting people's fears, fear that people actually do have, and to me, that's what creates all those other things, greed and all that other stuff. So, I think the idea of putting up a big wall doesn't make sense to me, but I do think having a system that is fair. I think a lot of times from the outside, immigration is not an issue that I've had to deal with a lot in the past, but I just helped a woman who had a husband in Nigeria that she was trying to work through the system. From the outside, I think a lot of times we think it's not even a fair system of how some people get here and some people don't. And so for me, I think being able to look at it from back to the system. What is the system that we have? Is it a fair system? And deal with those issues are important because this is about people. And some people are fleeing persecution. Some people are coming here for the American dream, so to speak. And so I think that would be an area that would be important as well. Before I leave though, because there's like one thing that I want to say that if nobody remembers anything before the show is over, if they walk off, it's because I was just talking earlier to my sister about this, that the letter V is like the letter for 2016, as far as I'm concerned. V for your voice, make your voice heard. That's important. And that's why I love what you're doing here. That's why I love what young people are doing across this country right now. Make your voice heard. That's why I'm running, to make my voice heard and to represent other people and their voices. The second is volunteer. A lot of times, we don't get involved in some of these campaigns, but we need people to volunteer. Number one, it helps the candidates actually achieve something, but also it's good for that individual. And people do write down those names of who's volunteering. The next one is vote. People wait and they vote in the general election, but as that article pointed out, the primaries of the election here, people have got to come out and vote in these primaries, and there are a lot of people running this year, a lot of people. And then the last thing I would say is about people's calling. That last V is for vocation. If you are called to do this, I just encourage people, don't just look at me doing it. You run too, and try to surround yourself with people and learn about this process, because it's not necessarily easy, but it's important.
Was you at the funeral today with me?
No.
Because all that came out today at the funeral.
Really?
All that came out today. That's absolutely. That means that our souls is coming. You know what I'm saying?
Let me say this right quick. We cannot endorse as NAACP, but we can say that people who've been a partner, been a personal friend of the NAACP, who did what we did, we can say that basically take a good look at you. Take a good look. The others will be on. I got a list of people coming on and stuff, and I think a lot of these folks I got coming on, both black and white, gave their hands to the NAACP and the people, okay? And when I speak, I try to speak the truth.
Yeah.
I just want you or anybody else to say, once I get there, the most important thing to me is that little guy in Delaware, in Texas, in New York, because what most people don't know, you may be a congressman for this state, but you represent the whole country.
Right. Yes. That's right.
And just be able. I got some friends in Houston. I got a lot of black females that I met from around the country, and basically they always say to me, "Hey, Mouse, if you need me in Delaware, I'll be there." Yeah. That's what we gotta do.
The thing at the funeral came out too was, don't forget where you came from.
Amen.
All right.
And I've heard you And I acknowledge, I'm going to take my NAACP off and my Muslim hat off, because I'm going to be there trying to support you as best I can, you know what I mean?
so much.
And I think we're all going to take these hats off.
Yeah, looking at the clock, you know what time it is. Mr.
got
President,
one
you
thing to say.
got 2 minutes.
I'm putting a bunch of guys together called, we're going to name it the Black Organization of Black Veterans. And I'm trying to do a fair with them Father's Day. And I got my first meeting with them on the 17th. And we got some here, we got some in Dover, and we got some down in Georgetown. But I hope to bring them together so they can get the benefit of all fellow money, all fellow programs, everything that they deserve that they ain't getting it now. And for Mr. Smith,
Right.
out to the veterans more, I hope that we can work with the guys who's doing it, but let's get them together.
Okay. You got 30 seconds.
Thank you for being here, listening to us. We're going to be on channel 965 soon. I'm working on that. So we'll have 2 stations that we can give some educational information to. And holiday greetings to everybody.
Okay. What traditionally I say the last words, but I'm going to give it to this lovely lady next to me. All I like to say is, you know, sometimes we're going to have to put down our hats. We're going to have to put down the titles of our faith and look at our spirituality and understand we're all the same. We all can come together and work for the greater cause.
I couldn't have said that better. I'm going to end on that high note and just say thank you so much for your support, your prayers, and looking forward to seeing you on the campaign trail.
Way out.